Hello, and welcome to this tutorial on how to use the Beauplan's Places in Ukraine Harvard Dataverse. The Beauplan's Places in Ukraine Dataverse is one element of the Beauplan's Ukraine Dataverse, which contains several dataverses that capture materials generated by our Beauplan's Ukraine project. For tutorials on how to use the Beauplan's Ukraine Dataverse and related dataverses, see the links in the description. This video focuses exclusively on how to use the Beauplan's Places in Ukraine Dataverse. To get to the Places Dataverse, start at Beauplan's Ukraine and follow the link. The Beauplan's Places in Ukraine contains 3 dataverses. We'll start with a brief overview of the gazetteer of Beauplan's Ukraine. Check the links below for a detailed tutorial on how to use the gazetteer. Our gazetteer of Beauplan's Ukraine contains a set of open-access georeferenced datasets for studies of early modern history of Central and Eastern Europe. This gazetteer contains over 4,000 populated places, rivers, river crossings, river rapids, islands, forests, mountains, and valleys shown on Beauplan's maps covering Ukraine and surrounding regions. Here is an example of a section of a Beauplan map and the key showing typical place symbols. These are the places that appear in the gazetteer. The gazetteer of Beauplan's Ukraine Dataverse captures places on maps in 3 datasets. We'll start with the CSV format dataset. The gazetteer has been split into habitations and geographical features. For purposes of illustration, we'll check out the geographical version. We see here a portion of the opened CSV file. We won't go into detail on the fields in this database. This is covered in the Gazetteer of Beauplan's Ukraine tutorial linked in the description. But note that each entry in the database is a feature on a Beauplan map. Moving on to the KMZ version of the Gazetteer, you can see all of the places in the Gazetteer on Google Earth with an information box available for each place on the map. Now let's look at the shapefile version of the gazetteer. We see the gazetteer entries superimposed here on the Google Maps base map, where each feature on the map has all of the fields contained in the CSV version of the gazetteer. Now we'll move on to the Beauplan's Palatinate borders. Here is an example of a Palatinate border as shown on a Beauplan map. In the Beauplan's Palatinate borders dataverse, we have KMZ format and shape format data files. Opening the shapefile zip folder in QGIS, we see the Palatinate borders with a name and source map for each border. And here is the borders KMZ file opened in Google Earth. Finally, we come to Beauplan's travel routes. Beauplan's maps show both schlock routes, which were major travel routes across the Pontic Steppe, and also less important trail routes. The Beauplan's travel routes dataset captures both schlock and trail routes, and as with Palatinate borders, we have shape and KMZ versions of the travel routes. So let's look at the shapefile version of the routes. Here we have the shapefile zip folders for schlock routes, trail routes, and travel hubs, which we will explain in a minute. Opening the Schlock routes in QGIS, we see the Czarny Szlak, Kuchmański Szlak, and Morawski Szlak as traced on Beauplan's maps. And here are the trail routes from Beauplan. The travel hubs were used when creating these travel routes as a way to connect the various segments and intersections of the routes. As with the other elements of the Beauplan's Places in Ukraine Dataverse, the KMZ versions of the routes and hubs can be opened in apps such as Google Earth. That's all well and good, but really, so what? What types of things could you possibly use the Beauplan's Places in Ukraine dataset for? Here is an example of how we used gazetteer data to investigate the causes of the Savran-Koryma border dispute of 1542, which attempted to establish a formal border between Poland, Lithuania, and the Ottoman Empire. Beauplan's maps clearly show a concentration of river fords, islands, and travel paths in the disputed region, making this a key strategic attack and defense bottleneck. You can find out more about the border dispute at a link in the description. In this study, we used the Gazetteer of Beauplan's Ukraine in our Heatmap GIS Excel VBA app to estimate 17th century population density in this region of Ukraine. See the link in the description for details. In conclusion, please note that while the primary beneficiaries of this work are anticipated to be scholars, researchers, and historians, the resources being made available support preservation of and exposure to the history and culture of this region that can also provide the general public with a human dimension to places that may be known only for their current focus as a center of geopolitical conflict. To this end, all materials are in the public domain and are being made available online through a Harvard Dataverse repository under a public domain Creative Commons Universal Deed license. Thanks for watching this tutorial. We hope the tutorial, and more importantly the materials contained in the Beauplan's Places in Ukraine Harvard Dataverse, can be helpful to you. And finally, make sure to check out the links below for related videos.